Coming up on Main Street, our natural world. In Shelby County, the Zehnder family's small 8-acre farm has grown into a blooming business. A little closer to home in Upton, a father and son have teamed up to restore Kentucky's natural habitats through the use of native seeds. Paleontologist Rick Toomey spends his time researching the world beneath the surface, discovering new possibilities in Mammoth Cave National Park. Henderson is our final stop as we drop in on the monarch migration halfway between Canada and Mexico. Straight ahead on Main Street.
Funding for Main Street was provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Additional funding was provided by the Kentucky Fund for Independent Production and by viewers like you who support quality programs such as Main Street that appear only on public television.
Hello and welcome to Main Street. I'm Barbara Deeb. On this edition of the show, we'll take a look on, above, and below the surface at people and industries that have an impact on the natural world around us. We'll also drop in on some busy butterflies midway through their amazing journey. Ellen and Matthew Zehnder moved to Shelby County when their children were small, and they were soon looking for ways to cut down on the 8 acres of grass they were mowing. Well, what started out as a hobby soon turned into a thriving business, featuring over 600 varieties of daylilies, formal gardens, and water features. The formal gardens are open to visitors, but if you don't want to visit the gardens, you can select your favorite rocking chair, sit back, relax, and simply enjoy the view. Let's take a look.
We moved out to Shelby County from Philadelphia, but we're from Louisville originally. And we decided our kids were small, we wanted them to be raised in a rural area. So we decided to come out here. Well, we had a little less than 8 acres, and all we were doing was mowing it. And it was killing him. So we decided we'd look into some kind of cropping. We weren't sure what we were gonna do, something seasonal. And we went to look at a very small patch of daylilies we were going to plant, and Matt decided, he's like, I think we should buy all of them. And this is something our family can all do together. This will be our family business.
After we started this business 12 years ago, we assumed we would be able to sell some daylilies and maybe we would be able to generate enough money to pay for what we're doing here in the garden. I never imagined that we would have water features and daylily after daylily, raised beds, formal gardens. And no, if you would have told me I would have had all of this, 12 years ago, I would have said you're a real dreamer, but I don't think it's going to happen.
We are centrally located between Louisville and Lexington, and we're just like 4 miles from the interstate, from I-64, so it definitely makes it easy for people. And this is a beautiful area. Finchville is a beautiful area.
What keeps us coming back to this every year, year after year, is probably the beauty of the blooms, the ease at which the plants bloom for you without having to do a lot of work. Many people come to us and say, I can't grow a thing, but
daylilies are so easy to take care of. You can just plant them in some of the worst ground you have, and as long as you keep them watered the first season you plant them, then they'll pretty much take care of themselves from then on.
If you're not a plant person, it's the plant for you. You don't have to fertilize them. You don't have to water them. If you do all those things, you will have a bigger, prettier plant, but it's not necessary. There are so many different varieties that you can spend a lifetime collecting the varieties and still not have them all.
I think that's why a lot of people like them, because they can share them with their friends.
The blooming season for daylilies usually begins as early as late May, and then The daylilies really come into their season in late June. You'll have some early bloomers in early June, and the season will extend into September. And we have one particular daylily named Jersey Spider that's a spider bloom, and it's gold in color. It actually blooms all the way into November, many years in a row.
Daylilies are unique. Each daylily bloom is only open for one day, and then that one dies, and then a new one opens the next day, and that's why you see continuous bloom on them. There are, as far as registered hybrids, at one time they were saying there were over 50,000 different registered cultivars, and now I think they're saying even more.
When people arrive at the garden, probably the top 2 or 3 comments that we get every year is you have such a beautiful garden. Oh, this is such a beautiful place. Oh, I bet you wouldn't sell it for anything. So, you know, we get a lot of great comments. We work really hard to get prepared for this. So a lot of people come here expecting to see something very beautiful, and we try not to disappoint them.
I think my best seller is Lanny, and Lanny is one that's a really bright orange color with red also in it, and it almost glows. And that's one that really, if I had 1,000, I could sell every one of them.
Probably one of my most favorite daylilies is MANDALA, and it's a really a light colored daylily with a bright yellow throat with a touch of green in it. I really like that one. There's also some of the double daylilies that I really adore. Francis Joyner is one that is really beautiful. My favorite part of the daylilies is watching them bloom. I'm still, after all these years that we've been dealing with them, I'm still captivated by the blooms. I can never get enough of them. It's our pleasure garden. We really enjoy being out here and just sitting in the garden, enjoying a cup of tea or some coffee in the morning. If we had no business at all, we would still have our garden and enjoy it very much.
Kentucky was once covered with prairies filled with wild grasses and flowers, but human habitation all but obliterated those prairies and only a few remnants remain. Randy and John Seymour are doing their part to bring back those prairies as the need for native seeds continues to grow.
It's tough to farm and make a living. Tobacco, cattle, hay. John wanted to farm really bad. It was a part of a diversification to help us farm.
And my father, Randy, he was on the board of the Nature Conservancy. He's a self-taught botanist. And basically what they were telling him was that there is a need and a desire for native grasses. And these native grasses are native to Kentucky specifically, so we call them ecotype grasses.
And John and I talked about it, and we decided to do a little bit of it to help the Nature Conservancy and some other conservation organizations find native seed for their projects. Did a little of it by word of mouth. People wanted more. John would give up a few cows, give up a little bit of corn or tobacco, plant a little more natives until all of a sudden we don't have any more tobacco or cattle. It's all natives.
Basically the customer base initially, we had people like the Nature Conservancy who wanted to take the purest approach in that we wanted to get things that should have been in that area and put them directly back. And then we also have large-scale purchases in Natural Resource Conservation Services. We have CRP programs, which used to would put invasive species in. And now we want to go back to native, so if you go in a program, it is required that you use native grasses.
We are working with plants that are rare in Kentucky, declining at best. What we are doing with our production fields is taking ecotype plants, carefully selecting seed harvest from that, propagating it, available to increase those rare forms. We are also very careful not to bring in ecotypes from other regions that would pollute the genetic diversity of the plants that we have here. So we're good stewards of the plants that we work with. We hope we're helping the environment in that manner.
Basically, with natives, when we say natives, we're talking about native grasses, wildflowers, and legumes. And these were all parts of the prairies that we had. And the grasses themselves are more structure for wildlife. They were pasture for buffalo, they're pasture for cattle. The wildflowers themselves are aesthetically, they're beautiful to look at. But one of the main reasons that we have them, especially in the Department of Fish and Wildlife mixes, that they've got enough foresight to realize that these are the things that attract the insects. The insects are protein for quail. So it's just that big cycle that everything feeds off of. Initially, when we first got into the business, we had some grass, so we had some seed and thought, hey, you know, this is going to be great. We can figure this out. In our part of the country, we don't have combines to speak of. Our ground's not suitable for it. And so we started hand collecting, and then I've got a local machinist that was good enough to help us, and we worked with him, and he built our original machines for us. And now we're up to 12 different types of machines that we harvest with.
John is ingenious when it comes to taking machines like these and modifying them to the product that we make. These machines were made to do corn, beans, fescue, that sort of thing. Combines are the same way. None of the equipment that we use can be used for our product without major modifications. Now, we have gone out and with some local people actually made our own combines to do the product where nothing on the market would suffice. A part of it is, when we started, we thought it had to be just as pure as any other seed you bought. That was not the attitude of the market, but we didn't realize that. So John developed this equipment to make it just as clean as any other commercial seed that you could possibly buy. And it's been a big part of our success, the fact that our seed is dependable, it's clean. All of that's a part of the success that we've had in this.
From a harvesting aspect of it, we'll go out, we'll drive to the fields initially because we may go all the way to eastern Kentucky and it may not be ripe, or the rain may have come and knocked the anthers off, and even though it looks wonderful, there may not be a good seed on it. So we physically go and see it. If it's going to work out, then we go and do our harvest, and then it has to be put on air the day that it comes out of the combine so it doesn't overheat. It's brought in here, put in drying bins, it's then dried. It'll probably be there for 3 to 4 weeks, and then we'll run it through the cleaning system, which this particular system has 17 steps. And then after that, it's put in a cooler at 50 degrees, 50% humidity, and it is stored there until we start doing our mixes. And from that point, we'll get work orders down from the office, however the orders come in, and then we will custom blend every single lot.
I guess part of the reason I wanted to get into this, at one time there was 3 to 5 million acres of tall grass prairie in Kentucky. It's gone. There's less than 1/2 of 1%, even in degraded form, still here. And I was just mad because I didn't get to see any of it. It was gone before I got a chance to see it. We're bringing some of it back. Maybe not in its purest form, but in places like Mammoth Cave, where we're given an opportunity to do real restoration, it approaches its pure form. It's something you're really proud of.
I feel like I'm doing good. When we first got into this, we're taking things that were in nature. It's almost like treasure hunting. We're putting them back, and if it's in a program, sometimes the criteria set up doesn't always make it look as good as it could, but when we're able to work with it and maintain it, then we make something beautiful. We bring back wildlife habitat, or we make good forage, or we may be able to clean the air up a little bit if it's for biofuels. So it lets us feel good about what we do anyway.
I think that the greatest joy in life is the pride you take in the accomplishment of your children. And I'm fortunate enough to have all of my children close by, and most of them involved in this business, and to get to watch that and participate in it and to work with John just it's made life pretty wonderful for me.
Dr. Rick Toomey is a paleontologist turned cave explorer. He's the director of the Mammoth Cave International Center for Science and Learning at Mammoth Cave National Park. A passion for discovery makes him a natural at attracting scientists and children alike to the park to research everything from water flow patterns to microbial life. But one of his main goals is to find new parts of Mammoth Cave and share them with others. Let's watch.
Actually, I'm unusual in a lot of ways as a cave scientist, in that most cave scientists were cavers first, grew up and were going in caves and exploring caves, and said, when they grew up, said, gee, you know, I'd really like a career that lets me work with caves. I'm actually unusual from cave scientists in that I was a paleontologist and for years and years claimed to be, I'm not a caver, I'm a paleontologist who happens to work in caves. And so gradually transitioned from being a paleontologist first to being a cave scientist first, and became more and more passionate about caves and caving. As I really did more in the park, saw more things, and worked with more and more people who felt that way, and worked with the park staff that are so absolutely passionate about the park and the cave. So many things that are so exciting about Mammoth Cave National Park. The research is phenomenal. The opportunities to find out new things, and also finding new cave. This cave, it's absolutely amazing in that you can be 5 minutes off tour trail or 2 minutes off tour trail and find new passages that no one has ever been in before, or ones that the Native Americans were in 2,000 years ago, but everybody since then has missed. So just all sorts of trying to find new things here at Mammoth Cave are just I really enjoy, and I also enjoy trying to help other people in facilitating that, finding ways to get them to the new places, finding new projects, and bringing new researchers into Mammoth Cave. Mammoth Cave is obviously the world's longest cave, but Mammoth Cave is actually unusual in the way that it grows. Mammoth Cave is a series of caves. It's got over 25 entrances now, and what happens is each of these caves was explored separately, and then all of a sudden they get joined in. At one point in the 70s, there was a big system around 35 miles long, and another big system, or another around 35, 40 miles long, and they were joined, and all of a sudden they were 80 miles long and the world's longest cave. And then more systems get added, and more systems, and growth and things like that. And so Mammoth Cave not only grows in this little increment, but by connecting new pieces together. There's times when you're just amazed at how beautiful the cave is, and how stunning some of the features, like pits you might go find, or domes, or cave formations. Then wonder at some of the resources we see, archaeological remains. Sometimes admiration as you see signatures from Stephen Bishop or other people. When it's taken you a long time to get back there, a lot of energy, and you see a Max Kemper signature or a Stephen Bishop's signature and realize that they got there too with open flame lanterns and shoes that didn't have Vibram soles and clothing that wasn't nice new clothing that will keep you warm when you're all wet, things like that. So admiration for those people who have come before, just also just amazement that you get to that you actually get to be here and do this. that you get to be part of making Mammoth Cave longer than it was when you came in. I hope my legacy at the park will be that the Mammoth Cave International Center for Science and Learning becomes a permanent functioning portion of the park, so we can increase research even more, work with more advanced education groups like the 7th grade class that's doing research, and bring in more researchers to the park and do a better job of making everybody aware of the new finds that we have and their implications and their importance.
Audubon State Park in Henderson, Kentucky is home to a nationwide monarch watch every year. That means in the fall, people come from all over to help catch and tag monarch butterflies as they make their way south for the winter. Now, the information that they gather from these tagged butterflies is used to better understand and preserve these beautiful creatures.
The monarch butterfly is incredibly special because it's a symbol for a lot of people, new life, and just an opportunity of something that has to go through a lot of challenges in order to survive. This particular butterfly requires 4 or 5 generations in order to complete a monarch migration, which goes from Mexico all the way up as far north as Canada and then comes all the way back in the fall. So it's quite remarkable that although they don't know where they're going and they've never been to where they're going, instinctively they know when they're there and when to leave. So they're pretty remarkable creatures.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Hardy Slough. Welcome to Hardy Slough. And Hardy Slough is one of my favorite spots. And this particular year,
we're out here catching butterflies to participate in a civic science project that is run by Monarch Watch. Monarch Watch is run out of University of Kansas, and they give us the opportunity to assist them in tagging all these butterflies so they can continue their research. Fortunately, this also offers us an opportunity for the public to connect with nature. I think in this time where kids are tied to electronic devices, we need to create opportunities for the public to come out and enjoy nature and participate that way.
you gonna go get him? Okay, you go get him.
We have a lot of families come out, scout groups come out, the general public, and they'll come out. We will provide them with nets and then give them an area where they can find nectar plants, and the nectar plants are what are going to attract those monarch butterflies. So they have an opportunity to catch those butterflies and bring them to us so that we can tag them. Then what we do is we in the paperwork we tie that person's name to that particular butterfly, so that if that butterfly is found again someplace else, then we can give them a certificate saying that your butterfly was captured and it was caught at this location and it traveled this length of time and this distance in order to get to where it was found.
Perfect.
It's kind of hard to do.
There you go. You want to let him go?
Sure. This particular spot, the Sloughs Wildlife Management Area, is a stopover. It's a place where they can fuel up on nectar and get some energy, relax a little bit and rest in the trees. If there's storms, this is an opportunity for them to get shelter from the storm without a whole lot of participation from predators and people. So this is a particularly great location because we have all sorts of flowering plants that they can land on, get their start, and then get back into the sky and continue on another 1,400 miles down to Mexico City. The little ones are having an opportunity to connect with nature. That's really important in today's standards. But I think the families have an opportunity to connect with each other. This is a great unstructured play date for them to have an opportunity to succeed in nature, have great experiences safely and with other people and make friends. Some of these individuals have been coming here for many years doing the same thing, and they find the amazement year after year after year. Monarch Watch hopes to achieve a couple of things. Their mission really focuses on education and conservation, but they also want people to have a good time doing this, good time participating in the tagging exercises. And so everything that they do revolves around the conservation and education component of it. As for what sort of questions are they actually answering, I'm not entirely certain. But I do know that the tagging information that we provide them is key in answering some of the questions that have plagued scientists for years about these remarkable creatures. The money that we pay to Monarch Watch in order to get the nets and the stickers, the tagging stickers, that goes back into Monarch Watch to help perpetuate Monarch Watch as an entity. They also go after other monies in order to help offset some of their costs. But Monarch Watch is really key in giving teachers and educators information that they can use in order to teach the public about monarchs. But it's also used in order to pay individuals to collect these butterflies that have already been tagged. So individuals in Mexico can go into some of these areas, retrieve some of the tagged butterflies, and they can be paid for that. In addition, Monarch Watch supports acquiring properties down in some of these key regions that are high monarch resting stops. So places in Mexico, in those 12 mountain ranges areas, there's a monarch preserve that they can use to keep those lands protected.
Whoa! I didn't know you caught three of them.
Well, I think that butterflies provide a connection to new life because they do go through these stages. They turn in from something that may not be the most attractive thing in the world to something that is amazing and beautiful and is capable of doing something that so many people have dreamed of, flying, just being free and flitting around without a care in the world. It's something that people can connect with, and I think that that's what makes our connections with butterflies so strong.
We hope you've enjoyed this look at the interesting people, places, and things that make our Commonwealth so unique. Until next time, I'm Barbara Deeb. Thanks for joining us. And remember, we're just around the corner on Main Street.